What's happened over the 30 years that I've been practicing law is a lot of interest has been generated by the public in what can we now do with our pets. If you went back 30 years ago, there wasn't anything you could do. A pet under Michigan law is considered personal property. It's just like the furniture. We don't think of them as furniture, but the law treats them the same as furniture and all those kinds of things. And so there wasn't anything you could really formally do with that pet other than give it to somebody. Just like you give your furniture away, give your car away, you could do something like that. Well, more recently what's happened is a lot of clients that I work with have relationships with their pets that cause them to say, well, I want to be able to do more than that. I deal with a lot of clients who oftentimes have closer relationships with their pets than they do their children. I have clients who don't have children and their pets are their children. My aunt and uncle were examples of that. Their pets were their children for all intents and purposes. And so as time has gone by, what's happened is the Michigan legislature as well as other states have looked and said, well, maybe we should offer more opportunities. And people started looking and saying, well, what I would like to do is have some sort of an arrangement, if possible, where my pet could be cared for after I pass away. I could provide funding for that care to make sure that they're appropriately going to be cared for and taken care of and live out a happy life. And so how can I do that? Where Michigan law stood in the way of our doing that, the way that the law was designed before, people would start looking and saying maybe some sort of a trust, and we'll talk about trust this morning, would be a good tool for doing that, where I can set money aside, I can have somebody in charge of that money, they're going to use it to take care of it. And Michigan law didn't allow us to do that. They did not allow us to create a trust for things. Okay? We could create a trust to take care of people, okay, like our children, like our spouses, those kinds of things, our special needs children, but we could not create a trust to take care of things like our furniture, like our cars, and unfortunately like pets. Well, a couple of years ago, Michigan changed its law finally, and now we can, as a result of change in Michigan law, for clients who are interested, actually create what we would call a pet trust. We now have the ability to actually have a formal arrangement where money can be set aside, assets can be set aside to be used after you pass away to take care of your pet. So it's come about because more and more people have been interested in that possibility, more and more people having relationships with their pets that cause the legislature to look at those things. Similarly, in other arenas of estate planning, you're probably all familiar with the concept perhaps of healthcare powers of attorney, where we name people to make medical decisions. We can talk about those. When I started practicing law 30 years ago, we didn't have those, all right, because people didn't have that ability. They weren't, our only option at that point in time was if you became incapacitated, you had a guardian appointed for you, and that's what you did. Well, more and more people are living longer. Unfortunately, for a lot of those people that are living longer, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're able to take care of themselves. So the law kind of caught up with that and said, okay, let's give people the ability to appoint someone to make their medical decisions for them. And that's where that's come about. And similarly, when we look at a lot of banks today, you go to a bank today and you set up a new bank account, they all want to have you put a beneficiary on your bank account. It's really an estate planning tool. Where's your bank account going to go when you pass away? Didn't have that 30 years ago. 30 years ago, the only beneficiaries that you'd have on anything 30 years ago would have been a life insurance policy. You didn't have them on bank accounts or investment accounts or any of these kinds of things. Well, the laws kind of looked at people's interest. A lot of folks are interested in how do I pass my estate on to somebody else and avoid probate doing it, and so there's been a development. So the same thing applies in the pet world as has happened over time. We have options today that we didn't have before that people are starting to look at. Does it mean they're right for everybody? No. Does it mean that everybody needs to have a pet trust to take care of their pets? Not necessarily. What estate planning is really about, because that's my job, is looking at clients' goals. What are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? And then how do we make those things happen for you? What are the different strategies? And most clients that come to me, they don't just have a pet that they're concerned about. Most clients that come to me, they might have children they're concerned about, and they have spouses they're concerned about, and they have, you know, all the grandchildren that they're concerned about, and pets are also something that they're concerned about because they're part of the family. So we're kind of looking at today at all these different family relationships and how do we take care of all the members of the family and what are the options that are available. So estate planning, what I want to chat about this morning hopefully isn't just what do you do with your pet? But in general, how do we incorporate that as part of an overall state plan?